In the tournament that just ended last weekend, we had a very interesting game between two heavyweights. The top seed of the tournament, Aditya Ranjan Sahu versus Vaishnavi, third seed, I would say, of the tournament. And let's see what happened. There was an amazing queen sacrifice by Aditya in the game. The game started with the Caro-Kann, e4, c6, d4, d5, takes, takes. Now, uh, this is the exchange Caro-Kann. There is an option of e5, which is the advanced Caro-Kann, and there are other lines also. So Vaishnavi chooses the exchange, and then she goes c4. Aditya just defends the pawn, knight out, bishop check, knight out, pawn h6. A very quiet move. Bishop e2, knight f6, a3. Bishop goes back. I am trying to understand why she did not go b4. b4, c5 was very tempting and is the best move in the position. She goes bishop d2, pawn takes, bishop takes. Castles, castles. So if you look at the position, d4 is a target. So black already has a clear plan with targeting d4. Bishop b6, knight c6, all normal moves. Black plays knight c6. Vaishnavi tries to exchange of the bishops. I think bishop b6 is the best move here. Bishop b6. The pawn is already under attack. It can be defended a fourth time with bishop c3. She goes for that. Rook e8. Aditya just develops his pieces. Now Aditya goes for the e5 break. He is preparing the e5 break, which will open up the position. Vaishnavi goes h3, preparing against bishop g4. Pawn b6. Aditya is preparing bishop a6. A very nice idea. It pins the knight. Bishop c2. You can see there is a huge battle going on here. Vaishnavi wants queen d3 as fast as possible. And then knight e5 and all those normal moves. Aditya right away goes for bishop a6. Vaishnavi goes b4, e5. And this is a big moment because now Aditya has gotten what he wanted. He got the central break. He already has a pin on this knight, which the rook will already be attacking after pawn takes, knight takes. Rook e1, kind of forced. And now comes e4. That pawn drives a wedge through the position, through the white position. Now white's pieces on this side are completely separated from the pieces on the king side. Here, Vaishnavi has a decision to make. Where should she move her knight? There are basically three options. This is not really a great option. It goes to the corner, but it's still possible. Knight h2, knight d2, and knight h4. But there is one good option here. That is knight e5. It was the best move in the position. The knight had to stay active, but Vaishnavi decides to play knight h2, and that allows knight d5, preparing queen g5. Now that the knight has vacated f3 and the square is no longer under white's control, black can occupy the king side with queen g5. The bishop has to move, and now comes queen g5. The position is shifting to black side. Black has shifted his pieces towards this side, towards the king side, and this pawn is still very strong. Vaishnavi goes bishop c1, attacking the queen. What would be a normal move in this position? You would think you would move the queen somewhere, queen g6 or queen h4, something normal, right? But Aditya finds the strongest move in the position, the best move of the game, that completely shifts the balance to black. Pawn e3. A very difficult move to play because it stays in the same pin, but this pawn is now a very important piece. For example, if white takes, then knight takes c3, and if bishop takes, then queen takes c3, and the whole position is coming down on white. e2 knight is gone. King f1 would be a big mistake. It would be moving towards a pin. Black would have different ways to win this. For example, knight d4 should be a winning move. Yeah. So, and if king moves, then bishop e2 is already winning a piece. So that is why she did not take the pawn. Now, if she had played something simple like f3 also, even then the position is bad. A very simple win here. Bishop takes. If rook takes, then knight c3 wins with the fork. And if queen takes, then knight d4 and the pawn is still going to roll. So the position just completely changes after the move e3. Vaishnavi could not find a good continuation here. She had only one correct move, which would keep it manageable. She had knight g4. She played king h1, a very natural move, getting out of the pin from the queen, preparing knight f3. But then Aditya was ready with his next move. If you look at this position, black has several good alternatives. One of them is bishop takes e2. Right, bishop takes e2, queen takes, and knight d4. This is one option. The other option is going for bishop h2 and then going for bishop e2. Again, rook e2 falls to knight c3, and queen e2 falls to knight d4. So basically, black has many options. But Aditya played the next move in 1 second. He had already prepared his next move. He played pawn takes pawn. He's playing a queen sack, but he's getting a rook, a knight, and this bishop also hangs. So that is 11 points for the queen. 3 pieces for the queen, which is winning, but he still needs to be precise here. The attack is gone. Because the queen is gone, the attack is gone. But he has enough material to counter the queen. Queen d1, pawn takes bishop. Bishop a4. Here it's time to defend, and Aditya does not hold back. He defends properly. There is a threat to the knight. There is rook c1 coming, queen c1 coming. Knight c3, a very good move, because you cannot go bishop b7 because the rook is hanging, which means black has to be very careful. He can actually move the knight if he wants to. That is possible. But then b5 would come. If the knight moves, for example, here, then b5 and the rook is gone, or the bishop. So after knight c3, he finds knight c3. Queen has to move, staying connected to the bishop. He takes, queen takes back, and now there's a double attack which can be easily solved by bishop b7, knight f3, rook e8. So black's pieces are all coordinated. White has only 3 pieces, which is 2 less, even with the queen. Knight g1. Vaishnavi kicks that rook away from there. Rook goes to d2, attacking the pawn. Vaishnavi wants to exchange another pair of rooks. Rook d1. Here, exchange of rooks happen, and then comes rook d8, attacking the pawn again. Vaishnavi defends it, and here comes another brilliant move by Aditya. He goes knight d4. So many players would here play a safe game, like they already have enough material against the queen. They would play it safe, like for example bishop f4 or bishop g3. Just play around with the pieces. But Aditya goes for the kill again. He goes knight d4, full tactical. If white takes back, there was bishop e5. That's his plan. But in this position, Vaishnavi has a save, which is queen. Wait, let me see. Yeah, queen e2. And if bishop takes, there was queen e7. This was the save for Vaishnavi, but it's a little bit deep. You need to calculate a lot of moves. So after knight d4, after calculating knight takes and bishop e5, which would get Aditya back the piece at least temporarily, Vaishnavi decided to go queen c1. But that is a big mistake. And now Aditya has a clear road to victory. Can you find the win? Yeah, knight takes knight, pawn takes back, and bishop f3. And after king g1, rook d1 wins the queen and wins the game. So this was a interesting match. This was an interesting match in the tournament, in the qualifier stage, where Aditya completely dominated the game against Vaishnavi.